And yet I have decided, as evening approaches beautifully, may I add, that now is the time I'm going to record this. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I cracked open a cold one, by which I mean an unflavored sparkling water, and I want to talk about some books. Let's do that. Hi, hello, how are you? My name is Sophie. Welcome to my channel. If you have been watching this channel, if you follow me on Instagram, if you know me in the flesh, you might know that it was recently my birthday, just a couple of days ago. I made a whole big deal of it. I have a Gemini season video that I just posted last week. I threw myself a party. It was good. It was really, really good to celebrate myself and to allow others to celebrate me and to feel special and loved and like I was part of something. Yeah, it was really kind of a much needed thing for me, and I'm very glad that I made a big deal of it because it was ultimately very good for me. I have accumulated a bunch of books in May. Most of them I've purchased for myself, and those books I didn't even really so much buy with it's my birthday in mind, but I'm calling it a birthday book haul, vaguely. Some of these were actually overtly birthday presents from people, and the rest I purchased for myself during my birthday month. So yeah, it's a birthday book haul. Why not? I'm going to start with a few stragglers that I just sort of purchased relatively randomly for myself. The first is The Fawn by Magda Szabó. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I am starting to be quite a big Zabbo fan. I finished Cataline Street last month, and it made me really want to buy this recently out translation, also by Len Rix, that NYRB put out this year. Yeah, so I will dip into that, I hope, relatively soon. I picked up 2 used books last weekend to kill time. I was waiting for a park hang to happen, and I just had to kill some time at my favorite local unnameable books. So I picked up a couple of books that I figure I will, well, one which I know I like, The Hatred of Poetry by Lerner, which I've already read, but I didn't own it. It was only a couple dollars, so I picked up this slim boy. And Annie John by Jamaica Kincaid. I also really like Jamaica Kincaid. I mentioned in my previous video that we share a birthday, so it seemed right. And I've never read Annie John, so I picked that up because it was also only a few dollars. Let's talk about some books people gave me. There are 4 of those. First off is Home is Not a Country by Safia Elhillo. This is a poetry collection. I've heard of it actually and been curious about it, and my beautiful friend Ariadne gifted it to me for my birthday, and I am psyched because I think it will be beautiful and wonderful. My mother sent me 3 books. They're all in French because, you know. This first one is Weill en France, Weill in France, by Alain Jomy, who is actually an acquaintance or friend of my aunt, in fact. I think this is quite newly out, or relatively newly out. Yeah, it's about Weill in France. And I think it should be great. So I should get to that. And there was also a care package of lovely, wonderful things, most of them coming from her house. She sent me some lemons, she sent me just some bibelots and things, including 2 books that she already owned. And I just loved that. I loved receiving things that weren't purchased, that were just sort of like curated and picked. The first one is Audiard par Audiard, which is a biography, I think. I assume. of the cineast, screenwriter, Michel Audiard. If you know French cinema, you may very well have seen one of his scripts on film. He also directed, but he wrote even more than he directed. I have no idea when I will get to this chunker, but I was quite delighted to see it. I remember it at home, actually, so it's very nice to see. And then Passion Simple, Simple Passion, by Ernaux, booktube darling in these parts. I've actually already read this. I read it last week. It's teeny tiny, so I read it in, you know, like an hour, basically. And I already owned it, but this one has the special peculiarity of being signed by Ernaux, signed for my mother by Ernaux, which was really lovely. Also, it's nice to have it as a cute little, I imagine, first edition from '92, tiny book. Speaking of very cute, attractive books, I bought myself a bunch of those. Most of them are relatively slim. I have a bunch of Fitzcarraldos. So basically what happened is that earlier this month, one morning, I just something clicked in me and I just decided to hit order on a bunch of books from Blackwell's and thrift books that have been on my radar, that I've been kind of listing as a save for later, and I finally just decided, later is now, baby, we're doing it. So I have 5 Fitzcarraldo and 5, yes, others. The Fitzcarraldos are almost exclusively nonfiction. The one fiction, as you can see because it's blue, is Stillborn by Guadalupe Nettel. This was shortlisted for the International Booker. It did not win, but I've been curious about it. It's one of the books from that list that has been interesting to me, made all the more interesting when Kat's Field Notes, Kat, was speaking about it several weeks ago, but that kind of solidified my my interest in reading it. So I got it. That's how that happened. I got Notes on Suicide by Simon Critchley, which is going to be basically just a long essay in the way that Fitzcarraldo often publishes about suicide. And I don't really know much more about it than that, but kind of, I think, a socio-cultural, probably vaguely personal analysis of suicide. Suicide is everywhere. It haunts history and current events. It haunts our own networks of friends and family. The specter of suicide looms large, but the topic is taboo because any meaningful discussion must, at the very least, consider the answer to the question, is life worth living? Might not be an emphatic yes. It might even be a stern no. So this seemed interesting to me. Not to Read by Alejandro Zambra is very much in the vein of things that I like. It's about reading, writing, interacting with books. Zambra outlines his own particular theory of reading that also offers a kind of blurry self-portrait or literary autobiography. Whether writing about Natalia Ginsburg, typewriters and computers, etc., etc. I'm not going to read, I'll try not to read the blurbs to all of these, but yeah, this very much my kind of book. Similarly, This Little Art by Kate Briggs is about translation. Am I correct? An essay with the reach and momentum of a novel. Kate Briggs' This Little Art is a genre-bending song for the practice of literary translation, offering fresh, fierce, and timely thinking on reading, writing, and living with the works of others. So, yes, this is very much me on my bullshit. I love this kind of stuff, and I assume that I will like it. Essayism by Brian Dillon, which recently came out. I loved Suppose a Sentence by Brian Dillon, which I have somewhere in there, which is on sentences, literary sentences. So I don't even really, I think this is about art analysis, but I didn't even look too deep into it because nonfiction called essayism about by Brian Dillon, I just kind of immediately was like, yes, I will take that, thank you. Imagine a type of writing so hard to define, its very name means a trial, effort, or attempt. Okay, so it is about writing essays. Great, perfect. An ancient form with an eye on the future, a genre poised between tradition and experiment. The essay wants, above all, to wander, but also to arrive at symmetry and wholeness, etc., etc. So, yes, I love essays. I love writing essays. I love reading about writing essays. I suspect I will like this. Our last kind of essay-y nonfiction is Violent Phenomena, which Tilted Axis put out last year or this year, recently. 21 essays on translation. I was put onto this by Hannah May. She talked about this a while ago, and I immediately was very intrigued. This is about the act of translation, but also the potential violence of it, the colonial aspects of translation, etc., I believe. As colonial legacies linger today, what are the ways in which we can disentangle literary translation from its roots in imperial violence? 24 writers and translators from across the world share their ideas and practices for disrupting and decolonizing translation. So I think this is bound to be really, really fascinating and very much up my alley. And then we've got 4 books, 4 very booktube darling-ish sorts of books that I've never gotten to, all translated from actually the Italian. I got them all in English. I could have gotten them in Italian. I do read Italian, but I got them in English for, I don't know, a combination of facility and aesthetics, because I like these editions. The first one is Sweet Days of Discipline by Fleur Jaeggy. Very slim, a very popular book that I have been meaning to get to for a long time. This follows a young woman or young girl, potentially, in, I think, a Swiss boarding school, I believe. It's translated from the Italian by Tim Parks. And yeah, a bunch of people have talked about this. I think the person who really, really made me want to pick it up was Kieran Reader. But a number of people have talked about this, and it's a great, I love this edition, it's a great cover. And then finally got a bunch of Natalia Ginzburg, speaking of previously Natalia Ginzburg, because I've never read her. So I got hot hits. I got The Dry Heart, I got The Little Virtues, and I got Family Lexicon. 3 bangers and 3 lovely editions. I think they're all translated by different people. Dry Heart is translated from the Italian by Francis René. This one is Family Lexicon is translated by Jenny McPhee. It's so hard when you don't put the damn translator on the front cover, by the way, guys. I'm just complaining. And The Little Virtues is translated by Dick Davis. I don't believe I mentioned actually who translated Stillborn, speaking of not putting it on the front cover. That is translated by, that could be on the tip of my mind because it's been in the news, but I don't remember. Rosalind Harvey, whom I don't know actually. So that is my magnificent book haul. I am really quite happy with these things that I have gotten from others and gotten for myself. I'm going to attempt to hold everything up. That's a losing proposition. I mean, currently. Let me know what I should read. Yeah, I want to know. I want to know what you think I should read next. Help me out. I have a bunch of books on my list of must read soon. This is a house of cards, my friends. Everything is just so close to toppling. I have so many books that I own, so many books that I want to read, so many books that I'm currently reading. So what I'm saying is, tell me to read more books. But yeah, tell me which of these that I've mentioned I should get to post haste. I may or may not listen, but you should tell me anyway. It will percolate in my mind. I get to them eventually. So you can't pick the Ernaux because I already read it. So this one's off the table. But everything else, and let's not say Audiard. I don't think I'm not reading Audiard right now. But of all the others, yeah, you tell me which ones should I read this summer? Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to those of you who are watching right now who helped me celebrate my birthday, who wished me a happy birthday on my previous video, who wished me a happy birthday on Instagram, in person, etc., etc. Thank you so much to everybody who made me feel really, really special. I had a very bad birthday last year. It was a not good time, and this was honestly a very, very, very healing birthday this year. Yeah, so if you're watching this and you had any even tiny part of even just like liking a story or a post, thank you. You made me feel like I exist, and it was lovely. And I'm getting a little choked up saying that, actually. So I'm gonna drink my plain water that I didn't drink, because every single time I have a prop beverage when I film a video, I never end up drinking it because I'm too busy talking. But yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.